It was very challenging for me at first as well, so I totally get it. It's just a practice like anything else, and the way that I think the way that I was able to become successful with it was I would just look at half the day, or maybe just breakfast. Like, let me just get breakfast down. And so you start that way, just baby steps. And you're not going to be perfect all the time, and that's fine. And then you move on to lunch, and then you can move on to dinner. Or you could just try it for, like I said, a week, and that's it. But it is challenging. It's not easy, especially if you're coming from eating, more of a standard American diet. Anybody else? Questions? Food combining? We all have it down. We all get it. We're perfect. Experts. So it's just protein with neutrals. I think, you know what, you guys? I was listening to the video, which I'm going to post. I think I screwed up last week. Did I say all cooked vegetables are starch? Does anybody remember that? No. Okay, because the only vegetables when you cook them that become a starch, because all raw veggies are a neutral. So technically you could eat, pumpkin with flesh as long as it's raw. But who wants to do that, right? So technically all raw vegetables are neutral. But you see, these are the ones that once we cook them, such as pumpkin, they become a starch. And so you would eat it like that. But all the other veggies that aren't listed here, those are all neutrals when they're cooked. I hope I didn't mess that up. So string beans, cauliflower, broccoli, all neutrals.
So my understanding, I make a really good salad and I incorporate raw corn in it. So if I do that,
Exactly.
Oh, good.
Exactly.
Okay.
So raw corn, but that's not canned corn,
No.
because canned corn has been cooked. So raw corn, you get it off the cob, and it's amazing. It's amazing. I make a really good raw corn chowder, actually. But yes, so you're correct. Raw corn is a neutral. Have at it. Any other questions about food combining?
I have a question.
Go.
I made beef stew the other night. Now I had the beef. This is dinner.
So it's a
But I
protein.
had all kinds of vegetables
Amazing.
and the little potatoes,
Okay.
and that was it.
Okay.
That really
So
wouldn't
it's
suffice for that.
not properly combined just because of the potatoes. So that's
Well,
why.
that's the only, don't eat potatoes as a rule. And I
Okay.
don't eat sweet potatoes at all. But to me, they're too sweet. I
Okay.
can't handle it. So I don't have potatoes unless, unless I have it maybe with something else
Right.
like that.
So could you just get rid of it and have the stew with your meat and your veggies?
Yeah, I could.
And
But
so-
I always thought you needed to add all this stuff.
I know, we always did. We all grew up, meat and potatoes and,
Yeah,
right?
that was the main thing for years. was
Yeah.
meat and potatoes only.
Yeah. So your stew is perfect. Just get rid of the potatoes, and there you go. That's why, like chicken noodle soup, I personally love. So now I just get rid of the noodles, and you add whichever veggies that you can, besides, the ones that are on the list. Yeah. Any other questions?
Sandwiches are out.
So, what about having an avocado with sprouts and hummus sandwich? I love them. But a meat with a bread is out. But not necessarily sandwiches, it just depends on what you put in there. If you put everything from the starch category, then you'll be okay. I know it's different, and I know it's not as exciting.
You just touched on a question that I had. You said hummus, but hummus is garbanzo beans.
Yeah.
Correct.
And you said no beans.
Correct.
Right.
He could get away with hummus.
Okay.
Men can so listen, if you have hummus once in a while, if you're doing a real cleanse, you don't want hummus. He doesn't even want hummus. But on a daily basis, if we want to eat hummus even once a week, you're going to be fine, right? But as a rule, and especially when you're cleansing, you don't want hummus. Men can get away with a lot more in terms of food and in terms of what they can, that. If you go on a diet with your husband, who loses the most weight and who loses it faster, it just is what it is. And it's not fair.
It's not.
But, ideally you're not eating bread either. So it's not just no to the hummus, it's actually no to the bread. But it was a question I believe is just sort of generalized, not necessarily just during a cleanse. And so for us too, I'd much rather, if you did want to have hummus, so much better off having it with a raw carrot or raw celery or raw cucumbers, because then you have that, you guys know that, like sort of that roughage, but more importantly, you have that water containing vegetable to help with the hummus. Whereas if you put it with the bread, it's like dry on top of dry on top of dry on top of our bodies, or whatever, 96, 97, 98 degrees. We're basically dehydrators. So anything that we eat is going to get dehydrated, right? Even more. Yeah. I hope that helps. Yeah. Any other questions?
I suppose gravy's out, huh?
I don't know what's in the gravy. What is gravy?
You don't know what gravy is?
Well, every gravy, I mean, what do you mean by gravy? That's
Well, like
to
in
me.
her stew, it would be thickened with flour.
Okay, so you know the answer to that.
No.
Right, but we're talking about during a cleanse, I would never consider having gravy. But in my everyday life, if I want to have it once a month or two, I'm going to have it. My husband's like a classically trained chef, a French chef, so he does gravy, you know? So if I want it, I'm going to have it. But it's just not something that we
For
eat
the
every day.
cleanse. Yeah, okay.
And if you want to think about food in general, not just during a cleanse, we have sort of what is the basis of what we eat. Hopefully it's water containing food. It's not going to be right now, maybe you can build up to it, but that's sort of the goal. Most of what I eat, water containing food as much as I can, and for me it's easy to do first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning while I'm at work, that's pretty much, you know, it's a lot of what I bring to work with me so that I can get it sort of out of the way. The reason why I drink smoothies, it's not because I love smoothies, you guys, but I look at it as my medicine. I put probably, I can't even imagine, 5 huge handfuls of spinach in my smoothie. I would never eat that raw unless it was covered with bacon and oil and cheese, right? So there's no other way that I'm going to eat that organic water. But when I put it in a smoothie and I say to myself, Lillian, you're not 10 years old. You don't have to have a party in your mouth every single time you eat. I look at my food as medicine, but not always. Let's go back to what I was saying. Most of my food, I try to get in my raw, not yummy. It's not always yummy. My raw, not yummy food in the morning, during the day when I'm busy, I don't have time to sit and like have a luxurious lunch and eat and really enjoy it. I sit at my desk, I have to get something in, otherwise I'm going to starve, right? So that's a really good time for me to drink my smoothie. It's quick, it's easy, it's not the tastiest thing, but I'm not a baby. Not everything has to be sweet. So that's the way I look at it. It's my medicine, I get it in, I get it done, and then I can have like my little fun food. That's what we call sort of all those foods that you just love. Consider those your fun foods. Consider those the foods that, listen, they're not moving you in the direction of health and wellness. I'm sorry, like, I love bread. I love that walnut cranberry bread toasted with a ton of butter. Like, that's doing nothing for me except clogging up my system. And I know that. But if I want it at night, that's usually when I would eat it, I'm going to have it. I'm not going to torture myself, but I'm also not kidding myself thinking, this is going to make me healthy. It's not. It's going to do the exact opposite, but I know how to fix it. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. So if we start to look at our food as what do we want our food to do? Hopefully, we want our food to help our body do what our body is intended to do, which is, I told you guys last week, what's the goal of our physical body? Everything that happens in here, all of our organs, it's to keep us healthy. It's to get us not just to live, but to really thrive. Your number one goal of your body, of every single cell in your body, is to move in the direction of health and wellness. And so if I want to help that, I will choose these foods, which are the water-containing foods. And if I'm just going to have a party in my mouth and I choose to have fun foods, I'll have that, and that's okay. But I just try to make most of what I'm eating sort of the stuff that's going to move me in the direction that I want to go. And I want to move towards health and wellness and feeling good in my body and having energy and being able to to teach you guys all the classes that I teach every week, hang out with my kids when I get home, go for walks, have fun. So that's my goal. And so I eat according to my goal. And I know we weren't brought up that way. It's not like, well, what do you want? What do you expect from your physical body? And then you eat in order to support that. And so I encourage you to look at what is it that you're really looking for at this point in your life, because it changes. When I was in my 20s, I wasn't thinking this. I was like, I want to go out with my friends. I want to eat yummy food. I want to have fun. You know, I didn't really think about it the same way that I think about it now. And so that might be a great idea, is to actually give yourself a goal. Like, what am I eating towards? And it doesn't have to be every single meal, everything you put in your mouth, but just sort of like in general. And then you could ask the question before you prepare a meal, or before you eat a meal, is this meal moving me in the direction? You want most of the answers to be yes. And sometimes it's going to be no, and that's okay. Because remember, we're always looking for progress, not perfection. And that pretty much goes with everything, whether you're working out, if you're trying anything new, you're just looking to progress a little bit every day, right? Okay. Did I finish my story about the whole food, raw? Oh, so the fun foods are things like, I love pizza, I love popcorn, but popcorn is like so dehydrating. I know we always think in terms of like, well, if I don't put butter, it's, you know, low calorie and it really feels, and it has fiber. It is dehydrating. It is dehydrating for your system, and anything that's going to be that dehydrating for your system, it's not a health food. And most of the foods that are sold to us as health foods really are not going to move us in the direction that we want to go. So that was my point about how we look at food, and sort of the fun foods. Have your fun foods once in a while. You know how you use condiments, like you have your plate, you have your food, you put a little salt, you put a little pepper, you put a little... Have your fun foods be the condiments of your day, not what you're eating mostly during the day. Okay, TED Talk over. Let's carry on. Does anybody have any questions about what I just said? I know I get a little preachy, but I'm very passionate about this. And the reason why is because I've practiced this for so long. Listen, my detox journey is this. I started. I did okay, and then I didn't do it. And then I'd have to pick myself up, and what I mean by, so I would eat according to what I'm sharing with you. And so I'd be really good food combining, getting my juice, and then I'd go on vacation, I'd be in Italy for a month, and then I'm just eating bread and pasta, and then I'd come back home, and then I would start again with it, right? So my detox journey, no one's ever a straight line. Again, we're doing the best we can, but with that said, I feel the effects, and I'm aware now, okay, I'm eating a lot of cooked food. I'm eating a lot of ill-combined foods. How am I feeling after 2 or 3 weeks of that, as opposed to if I'm doing 2 or 3 weeks where I'm eating mostly raw, I'm having my fun foods now, it's a huge difference. Not only when you wake up in the morning and you look at your face, you're like, what is that? That would be the hamburger, Lillian. Why can't I wake up this morning? Why do I feel like I want to hit the snooze 10 times as opposed to I wake up before my alarm. I'm out of bed before my alarm even goes off. I've done 20 things this morning and it's 4 o'clock, right? Like, I notice these things and I know it works. I know it makes a difference. That's why I'm so passionate. Okay, so we're good with the food combining. Attempt one meal. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. And so today we're going to talk about juicing and smoothieing. What the difference is, I'll give you a little recipe. It's super simple. It's not complicated, although juicing can be a little bit more complicated than smoothieing. So I touched upon it. I think you had asked me a question last week. The difference between juice and smoothie is this. With a juice, you take the organic water and you separate it from the fiber. So if you're using a juicer, you can get a great one for under $100. You can get one for even cheap. You can go on Facebook Marketplace and get one that someone uses as a coat hanger probably for like $20-$30. So when you we'll just use celery. If I put celery into the juicer, on one end comes out the pulp, and on the other end comes out the juice. And the juice is what we drink. It's literally like water, it just happens to be light green. So we separate the two. And the reason why we want to juice, like you had said, so if you think about a vegetable, right? It is grown from the earth, the sun, water, soil, and so that's why we call it organic water. and it is high vibration food. If that sounds woo-woo to you, just think of it like this. You're pulling the celery out of the ground. You know it's alive. How do you know it's alive? Because it's still growing, right? And so if that food is alive, and let's just pretend like it has a vibration or something that you can measure, it's going to be a lot higher than something that's not alive, okay? Our bodies are alive, and we are also high vibration. And so when you take this energy that is sun and earth, and you put it into your body, it just receives it and knows exactly what to do with it. And you get this burst of energy because your cells are like, thank you sun, thank you earth. I am also made of sun and earth. I recognize you, I know what to do with you. There's no waste left over. You consume your juice, it is in, it is used, and you get all this energy, okay? So juice. Smoothie, on the other hand, you take the entire celery, if you were gonna smoothie celery, which I don't, I have, but I don't. You would take the whole celery stick and you would put it now in a blender. And then you would blend said celery stick and you would get a mushy, stringy, gross consistency. But the bottom line is that you have the water and the fiber together and the blender just chews it up for you. So it's like a pre-masticated, delicious drink that now you don't have to chew, and it's much easier for your body. It's kind of pre-digested, actually. So then you drink it, and your body also receives that energy rather quickly. Fiber does slow down, so now you do have to digest. Did you have a question? So you do have to digest that smoothie. Why do I care if I have to digest something, Lillian? Good question. Because our bodies only have so much energy, and we spend a lot of our energy digesting food. It's a big task on our body. And so our body has to go in and digest, figure out what to do with this, and so now it's pulling energy away from healing, beautifying, energizing. When we go to bed every night and we sleep, we go into detox mode. Have you guys heard this before? You go into cleansing mode. So assuming you haven't eaten right away and gone to bed, let's assume your digestion is practically done by the end of the day. You go to bed, within an hour, you're asleep and your body's not sleeping. How do you know this? How do you know that this is true? Because when you wake up in the morning, most of us will need to brush our teeth right away. Like 99.9% of us. Why? Because your body is pushing out toxins. The most important part of your body, to your body, is the center part, because that's where your organs are, right? So we need to protect, it wants to protect this at any cost. And so when you're sleeping, your body goes in and says, ooh, these toxins, this icky stuff, I don't want it near here. I'm gonna push it out. I'm gonna push it out through your mouth. I'm gonna push it out through your tongue. And that's why when we wake up, we're like, dragon breath. It's because your body is trying to get rid of all these toxins. And not only that, many of us will go to the bathroom first thing in the morning. We urinate, we take hopefully a healthy, nice, solid poop, usually in the morning, because your body at night is going, get it out. Cellulite is your body's way of taking toxins, combining it with fat, and pushing it away from your organs. That's why we tend to get it here. That's why we tend to get it here, right? But mostly it's going to be here because your body is saying this toxin is now with this fat and we don't want it here. We need to push it out as far away as we can. The body's a miracle. I told you guys this the first class and I wasn't kidding. We just take it for granted. We're just like, oh, this whole thing, whatever. But if you think about what it does for you, right? When we're sleeping especially. So when we're sleeping at night, that's what's happening. All this huge detoxing all by itself. And then we get up in the morning, and as soon as you put something in your mouth, your body says, stop the cleansing, stop, because that's also when we beautify, and hair stuff, skin stuff, right, all the beautification stuff, all that stops. The detox stops, the beautifying stops. Why? Because if you eat, now all of your body's energy goes, oh, we gotta digest this food. So it goes into digesting, and then your beautifying, your detoxing is done. It's done. And so that's why juice, it can continue to detox. When our bodies can continue to detox when we have juice, because it takes no energy from our body to receive that energy, right? However, when we have smoothie, because of the fiber, our bodies need energy in order to digest it. So it takes away from the detox and the beautifying in order to stop.
So actually, we need the juicer and juice more than we do a smoothie.
Wow, that's a great point. So juicing is the number one thing that you can do for your body in terms of hydration and detoxification and even beautifying. For all of it, there's nothing that will trump. For us, there's nothing that will trump. There is something called dry fasting, water fasting, which we won't talk about, and that's not anything that we need to concern ourselves with. Honestly, if you've never detoxed at this point, it's not going to happen. So yes, juice is the number one thing that we can do. Do I have to do juice only, like for days and days and days? Absolutely not. You will still get the benefits of juice as long as you're having it in the morning and on an empty stomach. Okay? And then smoothies, again, the reason why. So for me today, do you guys want, I'm going to share my food with you. It's boring, and it's not what you're here for, but I want to give you a little. This is my smoothie. I already had my juice. It's water and it's green. This you can tell is a smoothie because it's extra thick. This has I think chlorella in it. That's why it's so dark. So it's not. If this is just so, I'll tell you what I put in here. I'll give you a little recipe. This is wild blueberries, filtered water. Like I said, so much raw spinach in here that I would never eat it at one sitting. So I consider this my medicine, and it's almost my raw greens for the day. It's almost all of them. I will have a salad or two throughout the day too. And then for lunch today, I have zoodles. It's raw zucchini with a spiralizer. And I made meat sauce this morning because I didn't have a lot of time and I had no lunch. So I took 93% fat-free, grass-fed beef. I just put it in the pan for a few seconds, and I used organic jarred red sauce. Sorry, didn't have time to make that homemade this morning. I did my zoodles. It took me maybe 2 minutes. My ground beef, I don't know, it was cooking while I was doing all my other stuff. And then I opened a jar. And so I have a well-combined, this is a huge, I could put cheese on it. I just was rushing and I didn't have Parmesan cheese. Did you see the size of that bowl? And I will eat that whole entire thing. And it'll make me very happy for probably 3 or 4 hours, depending. Okay, so I know it sounds like it's really hard to eat this way and it's complicated and it's just not worth it. But that right there, between that smoothie and the smoothies, I made 3 smoothies this morning. And I only had like 40 minutes to get out of the house. So I made 3 days worth of breakfast and lunch for myself within like 15 minutes. Super easy.
Is there a particular juicer that you find easy to, some of them are so complicated to take apart and wash and everything. So.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't want to really get into the different types of juicers. That's a day, that's an hour conversation. What I recommend for someone who's just starting out, which is where we are, is you get a centrifugal juicer. It's 99% of the juicers that are out in the stores today. You're going to have the motor. You're going to have a bowl-shaped thing, and inside that is the, what's the meshy thing called that will catch all the fiber? A strainer, almost, like a strainer, and then usually there's a blade in there, and then you put the top on, and then there's a chute, and you put the thing in the chute, whatever veggie you're going to, and then out one end comes the fiber, and out the other end comes the juice. So normally it's only should only be like 4 pieces, and you know, the motor part of it you don't really need to wash. You can wipe that down, and then you have like the holder, the blade, the top, and a pusher. So it's kind of like a puzzle, but once you get the hang of it, it's super easy. It's really not that, so I use a Breville, but for it's a little expensive. I would just go to Walmart and get whatever $30, $40, $50, $60 juicer, if you really want to try this, whatever they have on their shelf, get it. It's going to last you, I would imagine, a year. Worst case is 6 months. And by then it might be holding your coats. So who cares, right? But then maybe in 6 months or a year, you're like, this is the best thing I've ever done. And then you can invest. And then you only spent whatever, maybe $60 on Walmart's version of something that, you know what I mean? So yeah, so that's my answer. But if you've been juicing for a while, I love the Breville,
Yeah, I have one.
the Centrifugal.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I
I
don't know.
started with a Champion and I sold it.
Champion.
It was a pain.
Oh, was that the slow?
Yeah,
oh.
you had to slice everything.
Yeah,
and
that's a
then
pain.
put it in slowly. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is ridiculous. I don't have time.
It is ridiculous. So the Centrifugal is really easy. You guys don't work. You can juice every day. Sometimes I'll juice 2 or 3 days in advance, and I'll put it in the fridge. And it's not the best thing to do, but if you're working and you're busy, you know what? It's better than nothing. So sometimes I'll do 2 or 3 days in advance, and just.
So I used to have a Jack LaLanne juicer. And
I've had
much
so
fun
many
with
Jack
it.
LaLannes. Did you
And
like it?
I loved it.
I
even
love it.
replaced all the parts multiple times.
Yeah,
but
love it.
After I couldn't get some of the parts anymore, I donated it, saying this doesn't really work right, because
Yeah.
it was making.
You've replaced the blades on these things. That's usually it. You have to replace the blades.
But
Depending on how
one
much
thing
you
I
use it.
remembered when I was juicing every day was what I was putting in my juice. Now, you said there's exception, you can mix berries and greens together.
I'm going to give you guys the detoxing juice recipe. Now, I am going to have you write it down. And in my last class, somebody got very upset that they had to write down their homework. I saw in the reviews, but other than that, I got really good reviews. But anyway, she's like, she made us write it down. And it was a different subject. It was Pilates. And just so you know, when you actually write things down, it helps you to reinforce. You guys know this. Okay. So there are some times with the Pilates, I wanted them to write it down. With you guys, I should have a sheet, but I couldn't figure out how to print it today at work. So you'll get a sheet next week, but you're gonna write down, because you don't really need to memorize this. There's no reason. Now you can complain. She made me write down the juice recipe. So here's your juice recipe. Ready? Celery and or cucumber, lettuce. I would do romaine. It has the most water. Lemon or lime. If you can't handle it, don't do it.
You take the skin off.
No.
Okay.
If it's organic, I don't.
Okay.
If it's not organic, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Ginger, if you like ginger.
Powdered or fresh?
Fresh. That's it.
Oh,
That's it. Now, if you're like, I can't have this, I need something sweet, put it like a quarter of a green apple. That's my gift to you. A quarter of a green apple.
Stevia?
Or stevia. Absolutely, you can put a little stevia. As much as you want. But I will tell you right now, now if you're like, Lillian, this seems a little too easy. We are looking, so this is not a healing juice recipe. This is a detoxing juice recipe. Why? If I give you a cucumber and you juice it, a big cucumber like this, and you put it in the juice, you're gonna get like at least a cup of juice. But if you're like, well, I really want to heal and I have a lot of healing to do, and so I'm going to focus more on the darker greens, because the darker the green, the more healing. Okay, so I'm going to juice kale. So my cucumber cost, let's say we go get an organic $3 cucumber. You're going to get at least a cup, probably more of juice. Now let's say we go get organic bunch of kale that costs probably closer to 4, 5. You're going to get maybe a quarter cup of juice. And so this is the most cost-effective way to get the organic water in your system. And this is for detox purposes. If this was something that you really need to heal, and you're going to invest in yourself and you don't mind spending $100 a day on juice, then have at it. So the darker the greens. You can certainly add a handful of spinach to your juice. But if you look at organic romaine lettuce, compared to a whole thing of spinach, again, you're gonna get so much more juice out of the romaine than you will from the spinach or the kale. Just trust me, don't even measure it, you don't have to, I've done it all. I'm telling you. Yes.
You throw the fiber away?
Oh, I know, people always get so upset about that. Then what do I do with the fiber? Well, I may offend somebody. So either way, it ends up waste. I'm just gonna leave that right there. I'm just gonna leave that right there.
I run my waste through.
You mean your fiber?
My fiber through a second and third time.
Yeah, and that's, if you don't, depending on the blend, the juicer especially, some juicers, the more expensive juicers, so let's just continue to use our cucumber. Even the cheap juicer that you may get at Walmart, that, let's say you run that, you're gonna get a cup. Let's say in my Breville, I'm gonna get maybe a cup and a half, maybe a cup and a quarter.
Yeah,
It's more efficient at getting the juice out. And you know what? You do spend a good amount of money, especially if you're doing organic produce, which you should, for juice. If you're eating and you're like, I don't want to do organic for every single thing, I get it. You don't even don't worry about it. But if you're juicing, it's a little bit more imperative that you do organic. Have I had non-organic juice? Of course I have. And I would today if that's all my options were. So, we do the best we can. We go back to that. We do the best we can. So that's the difference. And yes, you can take the pulp and you can run it through again and you'll get a little bit more juice. I don't really have the time for that. It gets really messy and then it is so messy. But you can do that. Absolutely. Great suggestion. I want to go back. You were asking me, besides the whole waste thing, I got sidetracked with my cute little, funny. What did you ask me again?
I just asked what you did with the fiber.
Oh, that's why I wanted to redress. So some people will use, I don't think cucumber is the best, but like if I do carrots, let's say my kids want, carrot. If I do carrots, I will absolutely save that and I'll use it in something. If it's baked goods, a lot of times in my meatloaf, I'll add, depends on what, so if I'm doing kale, I definitely save my kale fiber. And you can put that in like meatloaf, you can put it in meatballs or whatever. Breads, if you're a baker, I don't know. But there are things, listen, there's many talented people out on the internet. You can Google it. They'll tell you what to do with your fiber, juice, juice scraps. It's just not my forte, but there's things you can do. Yeah, great question. Somebody else had a question over here. No? Any other questions about juice? I'm not done with smoothies.
Okay, one serving celery, about how much? 3 stops?
Okay, so that's a great question. Thank you. Our goal is to work up to 32 ounces of juice a day, and that's about your Yeti. Okay, you want to hold that up? My little smoothie, that's about 32 ounces. It's a lot. The smoothie I showed you is probably a 20-ounce jar. I would be happy if you could get in 12 to 16 ounces, especially if you're just starting out. And you can start there and then try to work your way up to 32 ounces. And so I would say we'll go with 16 ounces, 3 celery sticks, a half of a large cucumber, half of a lemon. I'll say 3 to 6 leaves of romaine, and that'll get you where you want to go.
32 ounce?
No,
Oh,
the 16 ounce,
Oh,
half.
okay.
Yeah.
Lettuce, romaine, I'm sorry. How
I
much?
said lemon, half of a lemon for a 16 ounce, a full lemon for a 32 ounce.
Okay, and romaine?
3 to 6 leaves. It depends on the size. There's so much. I can't. It's hard to say. Like, some romaine leaves are this big. Some of them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And how
Same
much
with
ginger?
cucumbers.
Just a piece
As much as you can handle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 1 inch, 2 inch, 3. As much as you can handle.
Okay.
You don't have to peel it.
No, I just I wash everything, but I don't peel anything. No. Any other questions? Juice. We're done. In the morning on an empty stomach. So listen, if you're like me and you have to get up and have your coffee right away, and if you get up at 4 a.m., I have my lemon water and my coffee in the morning, and then I have nothing, maybe water, for like 3 hours, and then I have my juice. So you can do that too. As long as you have, I'd say, at least an hour between coffee and juice.
And you have your juice like lunchtime?
So the thing with juice is,
Nothing before?
yeah, so you're an intermittent faster. Am I right? Do you intermittent fast?
Yeah,
Yeah. So so that's still your first intake.
right.
Absolutely.
That would be the first thing
Yeah.
to be,
Absolutely. The time doesn't matter.
and then can you eat, an hour later?
Yeah,
A little bit of
absolutely.
something?
At least a half hour.
Half hour.
Half hour.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we're going to talk about intermittent fasting. I think it's next week. So the thing with, I'm just going to share this with you. What makes intermittent fasting so great, besides the fact that you're not like shoving food in as soon as you open your eyes, but what's better than that is it allows your body to detox, to stay in that detox and beautifying mode longer. Remember how I said that if you wake up first thing in the morning and you eat something, then you stop your detoxing, beautifying mode. But intermittent fasting, well, we'll talk about this when we talk about intermittent. The reason why it's so good is because you continue that detox into the morning, possibly the day.
I'm not gonna be here next class, I just have one question. Does black coffee,
It depends on who you talk to. It depends on your
Yeah.
blood sugar. You can look that up on the internet all day long and you get different answers for that. For me personally, I don't really intermittent fast anymore because of my full-time job. But I would drink black coffee and I never had an issue. I considered myself still fasting. So.
oh, yeah,
So what happened to fruit first thing in the morning?
No, you can still have, but so what we're talking, so intermittent fasting is just, I'm still gonna have fruit as my breakfast. It's just that my breakfast is at noon, not
So did you
7.
have the juice before the fruit?
That's a great question. I was going through a day in your life. Here we go. But I have to finish smoothies. Let me finish smoothies and then we'll get into this. But I love that question. You're thinking ahead. I love it. So smoothies. So I gave you guys the recipe. You're going to try to get juice in. There are some store pre-made juices that you can buy that are okay. Definitely not good. Let's just put it this way. Even if you could just juice, I don't know which one you like better. I say cucumber and or celery. You can mix those two together. Or if you're running short on one, just have one or the other. Because those have so much water in them, you want that to be the base of your juice. Because it's just so easy. You're going to go like this, and then half your cup's going to be filled up. You're going to be like, yay, that was easy. And then all the other stuff is a little bit less water. What was I talking about?
smoothies.
Okay, so that's not what I was going to say. It was something about the juice. Anyway, we'll go on to smoothies. You don't have, I think the point was you don't have to use, and I said and or, because you don't have to use both. But it's nice to use both. You get a little bit of variety with the blah blah. All right, so smoothies are any berry you want. Any berry. I don't like the seeded berries, but you can try them if you like them. Spinach, as much as you can handle. You might move from 1 handful to 2 handfuls to 3 handfuls. You can use any kind of like almond milk if you want it a little creamier. I never do. I just use water. That's up to you. But in the beginning, to make it a little bit more, tasty, you can use and make sure that whatever milk you buy, it says no sugar added. If some of them say original, and you think, oh, original means plain, it doesn't. And if you're in doubt, you always look at the ingredients label. Always. Now, an almond milk is not a detoxing food. But if it helps you to get in your smoothie, you don't have to add it, you could just add a half a cup and then half water, half milk. I'm just trying to make this a little tastier for you guys. But if you're like, I am just doing this, then just use water. Okay, so we have our berries. We have our spinach, a handful to 3 or 4 handfuls.
What about coconut water?
Coconut water is very high in sugar.
Oh.
Yeah. And so for us, it's not ideal. It really isn't ideal. I can see where you're going with it though. Berries, spinach, water and or some sort of plant-based milk that has no sugar added and it has a bunch of other chemicals and stuff, but it's okay because you're going to get in all that raw food. Stevia. Liquid stevia is best. It'll give you that little bit of sweetness. And it comes in flavors. You can get pumpkin, chocolate. I get vanilla or plain. That's it. You cannot buy these smoothies anywhere. Don't even try. Trust me. I've tried. Now, can you not use spinach and use romaine or whatever you have at home for your salad, for the greens? Sure. And that's your smoothie recipe, and it goes in a blender.
Is
Stevia.
Is that a liquid?
I would like you to get the liquid version because it is better in your mouth. It just the granulated ones, they're processed a little bit more. I just don't trust them the same either, but they do have a little bit of a leftover taste. Whereas the liquid, the flavored ones, I don't know, they're really good. Like even my kids will drink those.
And
So you
very
put
little
that in
goes a
coffee?
long way.
Very little goes a long way. Just read the container. Did you ask me about putting it in coffee?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that,
And that's at the grocery store?
Yes, I
Is
think
that where
so.
you find it in the grocery
But
store?
but there are different variations on that too, because there's pure stevia, and then,
Different companies making their own.
yeah. But some supposedly aren't pure.
I get mine off of Amazon, to be honest. First of all, it's a lot cheaper than what you're gonna get at Publix or any other store. And then I can get the organic, I forgot the name of it. I'm happy to bring it in next time. But if you just look up organic stevia liquid, it's the first one that pops up. And usually if it's organic, it's not as bad as it. And now listen, it's not a health food. Okay? It is just one of our little condiments to make getting the good stuff in.
I use the powder in herbal cheese.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong
And
with powder.
It doesn't leave an aftertaste.
Yeah, everybody's different. I've had with all the students that I've dealt with, I've had great success with the liquid. And some people complain about the powder. I can handle the powder too. I'm okay with it, and it's gotten better too over the years. It's so much better now than when I first started teaching, for sure. So invest in the liquid stevia for yourself and the flavor.
So that would be with the sugar?
With the I think so.
Okay.
Or sometimes they have now like organic section. You can look there,
Okay.
or it's in the baking section.
It's in the
Bakery aisle, baking aisle.
You get flour and all that. Okay.
quantities, like a handful of berries? How many are you
Okay.
doing?
Yeah, I know. I never measure. If you guys haven't noticed, when you start eating this way, we call it the detox lifestyle eating. I never measure. I don't weigh my food. I don't. So, I would say for like a 16 to 30 ounce smoothie, anywhere from a half of a cup to a cup of, and I'm thinking berries. I use wild blueberries. Strawberries, probably a cup because you get a lot less in there, maybe a little less. And then for spinach, handfuls. I don't really. Water, as you know, if you could add ice to make it like a little thick. Water, don't over water. Don't add too much water because then you just get like a really liquidy, gross smoothie. So just add a little bit on the bottom and then add a bit as you need it. And it'll stay a little bit like thicker maybe.
How do you wash your vegetables?
I am not fancy in the sink.
With
I
water?
don't scrub, I don't soak, I don't use a spray, none of that. In fact, when I juice, I don't wash.
And you haven't mentioned carrots. Is that a good or?
We don't really use carrots on a daily basis. If you wanted to add a little carrot to your green juice once in a while, that's fine. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, you could. You could, but it's higher sugar content. We're trying to keep sugar low. Yeah. Any other questions? So that's our smoothie. So now, to answer your question, we're going to go through a day in our life. I think a day in your week is what I have. Wake up and do nothing. Notice how you feel. Why is this important? We talked about know thyself last week, right? And so in order for me to share this information with you, I had to notice how I felt. And that's why I said, like, I know how I feel when I've eaten cooked food for a month straight and I've had no green juice, and you know what I mean? Like, no, and I mean that. Like, when you wake up tomorrow, don't, just what I ate today, take note, and then wake up in the morning and say, oh, I feel whatever. And then maybe you can get 2, 3, 4, 5 days under your belt of this, and I promise you, you will wake up and you will say, something's different. It might be a very small difference, or like in my case, it might be a really big difference, and you're gonna say to yourself, oh my gosh, there's something here and I don't know what it is, but why do I look better and feel better upon waking than I did a week ago when I wasn't following any of this? And so if you can get, I would say at least 5 days of eating this way under your belt, and if you wake up after 5 days and you're like, nope, I feel exactly the same, I don't know what's, then it's never happened. If you can commit to this for just 5 to 7 days and then notice how you feel, there will be a difference. And if you can get a week, 2 weeks, people say, oh, I don't know what it is, but there's just something a little different. You look a little brighter, a little something. So my work's really easy. If you guys could just do a few days, it sells itself. And you say, there's something here, I need to keep going. And then after a month, you're like, holy cow. And after a few months, people are like, who are you? Okay? So you wake up and notice how you feel, because that's going to be your indicator of whether this is true. And it is true. Your detoxifying rituals, we haven't gone over yet, but we will. Those include things like tongue scraping, dry body brushing, lymphatic drainage, at least through your face. It's a lot of stuff. Oh, I listed it. Great. And then instead of just like, so I'll say this. In the beginning, which is where we are right now, I say, when your body first asks for something, drink water with lemon. In the beginning, your body, we're not really tuned into our bodies, so we don't know. So just wake up and have your lemon water when it's convenient for you. And then maybe if you decide to try this and stick with it for a little while, maybe after a month you'll be like, oh, I can really tell I don't need anything this morning. Or, oh, I can really tell I need something. And if you ate a big dinner or a highly dehydrating dinner, you will wake up and say, oh my gosh, I need to drink right now, as opposed to if you're eating something like what I just showed you, you wake up, you're like, I don't really need anything for a while. You'll notice. But it takes, patience. So then you're going to have your lemon water, wait a few minutes, have your morning beverage of tea or coffee. Remember that I suggest you use organic half and half. You can use stevia, or you can use whatever nut milk, as long as it's sugar-free. I don't know, some people still use Coffee Mate. My aunt loves it. But if you can steer clear of that, we already know it's dehydrated. It's a powder. And not only that, it's like all this fake stuff. So try to steer clear of that. And listen, if you use it now, no shame. If you're using those highly sugared, those, I want to say international coffees. Oh my God, that's like from the 80s. I'm thinking of like the coffee, like the creamer that you get that's flavored now. Oh my gosh, and they're so delicious. They are so mean to us, but don't. Resist. Because you'll get used to stevia with half and half. It will take the place of that, and you will be just fine. Okay. Wait at least 30 minutes after you've had your coffee. I would say closer to an hour for us, but at least 30 minutes. Does it say at least? It does. So wait at least 30 minutes, and then you would have your juice. And then wait until you're actually hungry, and then you can have some fruit or smoothie, or fruit, wait a little bit, then smoothie.
With the berries, you're making a smoothie
Mm-hmm.
and berries. Can you mix the berries? Say blueberries,
Yes, you can mix
strawberries,
yes,
raspberries,
you can mix your
them all
berries.
at one
It's a
time?
great question, yes. Mix them. Get crazy with the mixing of the berries. Yes, you can mix your berries. And that right there, up until there, if you can do that, if you can do just that, I still think you're gonna feel a difference. Because if you have everything listed, green juice, then some fruit, and then a smoothie, that pretty much will take the place of your breakfast for most of us. You're not going to be starving. If you get up at 6 and you have your green juice at 7, you have fruit at 8, and you have smoothie at 9, you're not going to be like starving at 10, you know? You're just not. So if you can do highlight just to there, you will be well on your way. And then let's say it's 11 and you're like, oh, I'm hungry. I want my egg omelet with feta and tomatoes and spinach, then have it. You know, have it. But if you can do just that, that's huge. Okay, so it says if you need more food than what I indicated there in the morning, wait 45 minutes to an hour and then have your breakfast. Okay? So it may push your breakfast back. It should. But it may cut it out altogether. And so for you as an intermittent faster, that means you're having your juice shouldn't count really. You should be able to have it within your window of fasting. But if you wanted to wait, let's say you break your fast at 12, have your juice, you have smoothie at 1, you have fruit at 1:30, or vice versa, and then you're ready to eat your first meal at like 2 or 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but then you're going into dinner time and then the night's
Right,
right there in front of you.
right.
And you haven't had anything, you're really.
Yeah. You can do, you can have, what do you have, 2 meals a day?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then if you don't want to do this, if you don't want to do the fruit, I try to get the juice in. At the very least, get the juice in.
Okay.
And then
I
you
have
can,
a lot of fruit, and usually that's lunchtime with lettuce and.
perfect.
fruit
So then
and
just
veg-
have your juice before that. Yeah, perfect. Is this making sense, you guys? And then what else do we get to? So our bodies get sort of addicted to eating at certain times during the day. If you're one of those that's like, I eat at 9 and 12 and 6, you have trained your body to have food at those times. And then if you don't have the food, your body says, no, this isn't working. And you're not going to starve to death if you prolonged or waited a little bit to have a meal. Okay? But with everything you have, you're probably going to be fine. So for lunch, we do try to have a salad, but you can put anything you want on top of it. You can have, the protein with cheeses, or you can have the sweet potato, quinoa, veggies. So you have veggies with both. I don't think we need an afternoon snack. Doesn't it sound like a lot of food? And then dinner, again, we try to just well combine. So you guys all know what the well combined dinner looks like at this point. It could be what I have, which is zoodles and meat sauce and cheese with veggies. I would add veggies to that if I was having this for dinner, like a side of either sauteed veggies, because those zoodles are raw. So I'm getting my hydration with the raw zucchini, and then I could, I'd have my cooked veggies, my sauce, my cheese, my meat. So good, so filling. Or you can have, a baked potato or a sweet potato with your veggies. You could still have red sauce. It's really, you could even put red sauce over quinoa with veggies. Oh, it's so good if you like red sauce. And so that's about what a day in your life should look like. Do you have any questions about that?
What about snacks like grapes?
So once you've had cooked food, we don't have fruit again, because fruit is alone and on an empty stomach from last week as part of the food combining. So we don't do grapes.
No. food, I mean, no fruit after having, let's say dinner, whatever
Nope.
it is.
Yeah, no. I know, that's a hard one. I was like, but what about fruit for dinner? I mean, for dessert? No. Fruit, because of its high sugar content, will rot and ferment on top of your dinner. And then that rotting and that fermenting will wreak havoc on your system. And you want to talk about pathogens, like they love that fermentation, like all that food just sitting there. Remember we talked about the cars? The grapes want to go through like this,
Yeah, it does.
but your dinner is not going to let it. And so then it's just going to sit there and just kind of like,
Because mine
Exactly.
just goes, like you said, goes right through in the morning.
Right.
And, the grapes have kind of flushed you out, I guess you might say.
but you can have the grapes first thing in the morning, and yeah, just don't try not to have them as dessert.
Okay.
Any other questions about a day in your week?
It's not about the day in your week, it's about, I'm gonna miss the next 2 classes, and you said there was a way we could get a private YouTube or something.
If you would like to have access to my YouTube channel, and this will be the private, so I have a YouTube channel where I'm doing like little stretches and yoga and stuff. I have a lot of residents who are like, I'm going away and I'm gonna miss you. I wanted to, and I put these little videos out, fine. But I'm gonna have a private section where I'm gonna host these videos, so you can always go back and listen to class 1, class 2, all of them. And I would say if you wouldn't mind, just, I can text, I think the easiest way is if I text you the link. Right, Dawn, you're already in it. And then I'm happy to just text you the link. So if you want to pass this around, just put your first name and your cell number, and I'll text those out later by the end of the day. And I'll get this video posted with day 1 too.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so now I think you guys should really, between now and the next time I see you, make an effort. And listen, there's going to be some days where you're like, I don't have a juicer, I'm not juicing tomorrow. Fine, do you have a blender? Can you add a smoothie tomorrow? Right? Now, smoothies I make 3 days in advance. So I made 3 this morning, 1's for now, and then I have 2 days. But again, I'm working, I'm at home. They're not quite as good if they're sitting in your fridge for 3 days. But they're not terrible. But they're it's not the same. So if you can do it every day, do it every day. If after 3 days you're like, I'm never doing this every day again, then make 2 or 3 days in advance. At least 2 days. 2 days is totally fine. Yeah, they don't get like really stinky until like day 4 or 5. I've lost one to the back of the fridge and then had to have it. Sorry. Go ahead.
I got a question on clogging. You mentioned
Yes.
all our bodies are clogged
Yes.
to some degree, and I get the truck thing and the sports car and the minivan, I get all that. But is there more to clogging than just
There's
eating?
so much more.
Yeah, so it's not just eating and consuming the food and using the nutrients and then disposing
So
of it.
what happens is our body can only get rid of, I'm going to be generous and say about 60% of what we put in. In the beginning of class, we went over. Is it okay if I go over a little bit, or am I going to get in trouble? So in the beginning of class, I mentioned that we are dehydrators.
Right.
And so if you were to take a blender, let's say that someone's going to have spaghetti and meatballs for dinner. And you put it in a blender and you blend it up, even add a little bit of water. And it becomes like this really thick, disgusting one. And then we pour it out onto the pavement and leave it out on a 96-degree day. Okay? It's going to get dehydrated. So because the food moves through our body so slowly, this is why we care about how fast the food goes through our system. The longer it stays in our body, the better chance that it has to stay in our body, because the dehydrating effects, it gets dehydrated down, right? So what happens? If you want a meal and you're in space, what do? I don't know, I've never been there, so I'm just going off of what I heard. But you open a little package, right? And you add something and then dehydrate, and then it gets bigger. So when these meals are getting dehydrated in our system, down and down and down and down, and then all these little tiny pieces of our food are getting stuck inside of our intestines. Now remember, our intestines are, I can't even remember how many football fields, but then they all have all of these little divots all these little places for all of that dehydrated food from when I was 3 years old to get stuck up in. And all this food after all of these years is getting stuck dehydrated inside of our system. And then we start getting bigger. And we're like, oh, I'm not getting bigger for any other reason than I'm just older. No. It's years of old waste matter that we cannot get out of our system. And this is why juice is so important, because juice will go into your system and it actually rehydrates and it will magnetize the old waste matter to get it out. And this is a conversation we'll have on the last day of how to really get that out. It's so exciting, and all I can tell you is I have seen the evidence of this. I have seen the evidence of this. And I will share more of that story on our last day. But juice is your best friend. Not only does it hydrate your cells, but just it rehydrates the old waste matter that is stuck in our body for decades. Decades. So, get that juicer. All right. Day in your week, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I know I feel like this is so crazy, but it's truth. And you will feel the truth if you do what's on that sheet of paper.
So if you don't have a juicer right away, you can substitute the...
Just at least have a smoothie, the blender. Yeah, but try to get a juicer.
Quick question about
Yeah.
zoos. I
Yeah.
had them one time at Olive Garden, and they were like mush, so they must have not done anything.
Yeah, they probably do. You could see mine.
Yeah, they did, it looked like spaghetti noodles. So they're just fresh.
They're fresh, so they're firm.
And
So
so when you
if-
heat that up, it is heat it.
So normally at home, the sauce would have been hot, and I'll put it over raw. So I'll take my zucchini out of the fridge like an hour or two before I zoodle it, and then I just let it sit out, and it gets to room temperature. And then I put hot sauce over it, and it heats it up. So it's not like, yeah, that's a good point. I haven't brought this. I'll probably heat up the whole thing.
Okay, yeah, because that's gonna be tricky when you.
And I don't need a
might be a
hot,
little
hot.
mushy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Great,
thank you.
Great question.
Hi. Okay.